now, coming to you live from HuntsvilleAttic Studios, it's the Smile or Else Show. And here's your host, John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey, it's the Smile or Else Show, the only show that's CGC rated. I want to thank the Anchor Thieves for the opening song. My name is John Holshoe, and tonight we're talking about villains. I'm really excited. With us, as always, Robbie Billups.
Ah, yeah, thank you.
Also tonight we have Alicia Maro.
What up?
Todd.
Todd Parrington.
I forgot Tad's name. I've known Tad for years. Him and I went to grade school together. Don't fact check any of this. Tad Kopp.
Howdy.
Brooks Gibbs.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the enthusiasm, Brooks. As always, coming live from the Huntsville Attic. Let's not beat around the bush. Villains, something we're excited about. I know it was a podcast we've been talking about for a while. Very, very excited.
Well, I'm very excited.
I think
John.
everybody's passionate. There's comic fans, there's movie fans, there's video game fans, there's TV shows. There's not a media that doesn't have villains.
We're all nerds here.
We're all nerds. Nerds alike. Embrace each other's nerdism.
Whoa, okay.
Going
into dangerous territory, John.
Well, just kick it off. Why do we love villains?
Because they're fucking awesome.
It makes the story.
Okay.
Elaborate.
Okay, Todd. Elaborate, Todd.
Well, you can't have the basic story always has your hero and then your villain. I mean, I forget the word for it exactly. Your
antagonist
and your protagonist.
Yeah.
You got to have both for a good story.
You got to have conflict in story. Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, you have to have a villain if you want to have a good guy, and good guys are defined, I think, by their villains. Absolutely. But why do we love villains? And I don't know, I think there's a subtle difference between loving to hate a villain and loving a villain. Like rooting for a villain to win. Why would we do that? Well, villains are fucking cool. Like Alicia said, they're fucking awesome.
They always have the badass armor, the cool...
They have so much flair.
They got the
and
cool
style.
theme song.
Well, I think one of the first cool villains in popular culture was Terminator. Like, that was one of the first times where everybody just loved the villain more than anybody else in that movie.
Do you think that influenced the sequel film? They're like, we got to bring him in as a good guy.
Absolutely.
Because he's so badass.
Cool villains always wind up kind of being an anti-hero sometimes.
Like Vegeta.
Now, villains aren't always cool. There's Red Skull.
Yeah.
You know, like racist, bigot, Nazi motherfuckers like that, right?
No one
There's
likes
Prince
them.
Joffrey.
But they're cool. Yeah, right? But they're cool. They got the cool costumes. They get the cool lines. They get cool names and weapons and bases and everything. But also, you know, they're kind of the outcast, but they're the cool outcast. Almost like the freedom of being the cool outcast and being able to fulfill your ambitions with no rules. I don't know. I think they're just cool. And they're free to be as cool as they want to be.
As cool as they want to be. Brooks, you haven't really said anything?
I said a few things.
Okay. Brooks would make a great villain.
I remember saying something.
The strong,
at some
quiet
point.
type.
Brooks would make a great villain.
I am a great villain.
You are. Brooks rues the day.
Well, we were talking about
You
why...
will rue the day.
We talked about why we love them, which brings them to why they're important, which I think you brought up earlier, which is the protagonist and the antagonist. I mean, you have to have the villain. I mean, you have to have something to fight against. Where would Batman be without his rogues gallery?
Absolutely.
To you guys, what makes a great villain?
Everything I just said, being cool, like the costume, having the coolest lines, having the base, having the plan, being a schemer, diabolical.
All right.
that.
Well, that's our show. It was nice you guys tuned in. I agree with that. I like someone bigger than life, though, when it comes to villains. I prefer somebody that's just, like, over the top, cool costume. Something that...
Yeah.
I want something that you wouldn't see in real life. Like, oh, my God. Like, there's no way they have a base that floats through the sky and can shoot lasers.
They
I
do
agree.
get to just really take it to the next level, you know?
Sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their freaking heads.
Right. And then you end up with just fucking sea bass, just mutated sea bass.
And it's just disappointing.
It is very disappointing.
Brooks?
I forgot what we were talking about.
Don't cut any of this out. I want everything Brooks says in the show. I want everything we say cut out. I just want Brooks his lines all strung together.
It'll be a
Alright,
short
alright.
show.
Yeah, it'd be very a lot
Somebody
of
get me
quietness.
back on track here.
What
What
makes
what
a villain?
great villain? What do you
Oh.
in your mind?
Well, I always liked villains who they weren't bad, but they were like honor bound to serve a greater evil. The conflicted villain that he doesn't want to do bad, but he feels obligated to because he has a very strict code of honor. Or something
Yeah, he doesn't
like
really.
that.
Yeah, he follows a better. I mean, you
Yeah.
side with those people, then I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean
More so than you would
kind of
say
feel for
Darth
him.
Vader.
Yeah, well, Darth Vader he started out honorable, but he threw it away for love, though.
He started out in terrible films and then ended up in good films.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, we need more beer, so we're gonna take a quick break. Be right back.
Batman celebrates 75 years, and here on the Smiler Elf Show, well, we're celebrating 2 months. Anyway, Batman 75, the Batcast, coming soon.
Welcome back to the Smiler L Show. We were just talking about Batman. It's the 75th anniversary of Batman. We're going to do a Batman podcast coming up here in a couple episodes. Really excited about that. Who doesn't love Batman? 75 years. He doesn't look a day past 30, I don't
He
think.
sure doesn't.
He looks like he gets younger and younger every
Seems
comic
like he's
book.
only aged about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, him and that Peter Parker. Some kind of.
I thought for
He'll
some
stick
reason
around
you're going to
with
say
you.
Peter Pan.
Yeah,
related.
I'm surprised he said Peter Parker instead of like Clark Kent or something. You was completely skipped universe, and then John went to a completely other universe.
Speaking of Batman, comic book villains, we were talking about the Batman's Rogues Gallery. Who are your favorite comic book villains? Let's start with Tad, I believe his name is, despite me butchering his name before. I called him earlier, I called him Todd. I called him Cher, which I don't think is his name either. Comic book villains.
Well, he is the one wearing assless pants.
That was by my request, and I appreciate you doing that.
Oh,
I hope all the viewers can see that at home.
That's just how I go.
Listeners,
I'll try not
viewers.
to hold a grudge.
They can't. They're not viewers. They definitely can't see that. Who are your favorite? Who are your favorite comic book villains, Tad?
I have a lot of favorite comic book villains, and there's some stereotypical ones. The big bads. But I always had a thing for Carnage. Like Carnage from Marvel Comics, Spider-Man villain, the symbiote, just because he went so against the norm in the fact that it was just chaos. There was no grand master plan. He got released from prison. He went on a murdering rampage. There was no plan. He's kind of like Joker, but in a sense that Joker seemed to have a kind of... It always turned out better than Carnage. Carnage just went on murdering sprees.
Yeah, plus Carnage can turn his hand into axes and shit. Right.
Alicia, who are your favorite comic book villains?
Man, I'm gonna go stereotypical, and I'm gonna say the Joker.
He's from what comic now?
Yeah.
Superman, dude.
Right? Yeah. Specifically, I would say like in something like The Killing Joke, for instance. That's my favorite
That's a
kind
really
of
good
Joker.
Ah, that's like my favorite Joker story.
Yeah.
That's really
Like,
good.
would that come out in the 80s? So like no spoiler
like
alerts
88,
here,
89
right?
or
Like,
something.
okay, so F off if you haven't read it at this point. But yeah, I like how it's, it shows the sadistic nature of the Joker, and then just kind of his dumb luck at the same time too, with Barbara Gordon turning out to be Batgirl, and accidentally being mistaken just for being only the commissioner's daughter. So I would say the Joker is
It goes
my
really,
favorite.
and it goes really far into proving that he's just trying to drive other people mad. He's just trying to prove that that you're a bad day away from him.
Robbie, since you jumped in, would be your preferred comic villain?
Well,
I think I know what it is.
Well, Carnage is one, right? I really like Carnage, but I really like Venom. right? I love Venom. A lot of people had a hand in his creation. Randy Schueller, Mike Zegg, Dave Michelini, Todd McFarlane. The symbiote debuted in 84, and Eddie Brock Venom debuted in 88, and I just love Venom. That was the coolest Spider-Man costume. He was big. He had the mouth. The tongue eventually got way out of hand, but Venom was just so cool to me. And one of those villains, like I said earlier, it got popular. It became the anti-hero. Also, you got to give props to Batman. He's got the best rogues gallery in comics. So Two-Face is my favorite out of that. And I'm also really big fan of Jack Kirby's Darkseid. Big fan of Darkseid.
Brooks.
Oh man, my favorite would probably be Apocalypse. Because Apocalypse is fascinating. He was supposedly the first mutant, but he was picked up by these desert bandits.
That was Namor.
When he was a child, they found him abandoned in the middle of the desert, and their leader was like, he respected the fact that this baby was surviving. He was fighting to live, so he adopted him, and he finds this celestial technology from Ray Matut, who was a time traveler, as it turned out. And the Celestials eventually give him his armor, which makes him, like, damn near invincible. And he can basically change his molecular structure. He can become bigger. He can turn his body into whatever shape he needs. He's always there's never a small Apocalypse story.
Never.
It's always big. I mean, everybody has to pay attention when Apocalypse does something. The Avengers usually end up showing up, but he's just
in Sabanur.
Yeah,
Love it.
I will probably throw out the Joker as well. I mean, I don't think I can pick one. They're probably going to be DC, but probably the Joker. And like sort of like Carnage, he's really unpredictable. Batman even talks about that he notices how people's pupils dilate and stuff. I mean, he can predict people. He's a detective. I mean, he knows how people are going to work, what they're going to do, the next thing they're going to do. He thinks ahead. But with the Joker, there's no rhyme or reason. He's chaos.
Structured chaos.
Yeah, and he may yeah, you're right. Structured. I mean, he may plan things out, but he's definitely not all there.
Right. All of the ramifications end up being kind of accidental.
Yeah, he's definitely a fucked up character. But I mean, he was one of my favorite Batman villains. I told you, I think you guys know I'm a big Batman fan, so I'm going to go Joker.
One of my favorite things about the Joker Batman dynamic is that Batman is the hero, but he's the guy that basically dresses like a vampire, and the bad guy dresses like a clown. Like, I really like that kind of swapping.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That's actually kind of a funny way to think about it.
Jump into favorite cartoon villain. I'm going to actually start with Brooks this time.
Well, I always liked the Magneto from Wolverine and the X-Men.
You're a
Wolverine
fool, Charles.
Yeah, he was, because in the beginning, it's like he's turned over a new leaf. He stopped being a terrorist. He wants to just live on Genosha and, have his mutant community. But really, the whole time he's scheming on how to, start his uprising. He's working behind everyone's back with Senator Kelly. He starts a Sentinel invasion. He's a manipulator, and he's a liar, which was really cool. I liked that one. I really loved that cartoon too.
Tad?
Oh, well, this kind of ties in similarly with the comic book theme. Slade from the original Teen Titans cartoon, not the Teen Titans Go. It's really childish, but Deathstroke. They never called him Deathstroke in the cartoon. They called him Slade. Always great, fantastic. You always got excited when you saw Slade. He tended to lose, but the thing was, he never really lost against the Teen Titans. There was always a greater plan.
Isn't he just a ripoff of Deadpool, though?
I'm going to run over there and sock you in the face.
I'm just kidding. Obviously, I know that, obviously.
So, but yeah, they called him Slade because his name was Slade. His name
Slade
is
Wilson's
Slade.
badass.
Slade Wilson.
And he's
So he
badass
is
on
badass.
Arrow right now.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
he's just a badass character, dude. Take out the Justice League like that.
Robbie? Speaking of Slade Wilson, who's your favorite?
Shredder from the
Dude, how
Teenage Mutant
awesome
Ninja
was he
Turtles.
in the Ninja Turtles? 80s
Voiced by James
cartoon?
Avery, Uncle Phil.
I didn't realize that till somebody pointed out to me after the fact.
It's
Rest
pretty
his
cool,
soul.
right?
That was really
Yeah.
badass.
He
He's
is
just so
badass.
fun, and it's ridiculous. Even the Technodrome is badass, and even in the show, there's a moment where he's literally just following the turtles in the park and hiding behind bushes when Krang leaves him there for a while to prove, to be like, you failed, so learn your lesson. He's just literally hiding behind bushes, scoping out the turtles, but it doesn't stop who he is. He's still He's just so funny. I don't know. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And remember when he made the pizza place? He's like, his plan to foil the turtles was to make a pizza place, and he did. And remember that was that Shredder's Pizza was that,
and it was
episode.
highly successful, and he retired on that.
He's a mastermind, but he also takes matters into his own hands.
Yeah, and he deals with what it. But his whole backstory is badass if you read the comics,
Yeah.
whatever. Ventress from the Clone Wars cartoons is absolutely badass, and Mumra. When I was a kid, I loved Mumra.
Oh yeah, from
Thundercats. Yeah.
Thundercats. Oh.
Alicia.
Every bad guy in every episode of Scooby-Doo.
Oh, those are great.
They were all the same guy.
Did they really do anything that bad other than dressing up?
No, I
scare people?
have such a fondness for Scooby-Doo. Like, I loved that cartoon as a child, and it was always like they were legitimately scary and creepy at first, and then like there's an unmasking, and then sometimes there's a second unmasking, and then and I would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for you meddling kids, and it's just, I love it.
This made me think of the South Park episode with Korn, which I loved.
How
How did they make the pirate ship with these cotton balls and the flashlight?
I don't understand that the only thing that could foil them was some random kids and a dog.
They weren't random, dude. They were trained. Experience, homie.
Didn't you ever watch a pup named Scooby-Doo? They've been like junior detectives.
Yeah, they've been doing that shit since they were kids.
Velma is smart, man. That's all I'm saying.
I was gonna go with Shredder, but since you said Shredder, I'm gonna go with Mr. Burns.
Oh, yeah.
that's so
Burns,
good.
man.
Excellent.
Such a great villain. I mean, there's a lot of great. I mean, you can go with comic book cartoons that are based on comics, but there's a lot of other great villains out there, and I think I'm gonna
And
go with
toy
Mr.
lines.
The thing
And
about
Megatron
Burns
is a
is
good
that
one,
he's
guy.
a villain that doesn't have to worry about, no one's trying to stop him. He gets away with pretty much everything he does.
He has all the power in Springfield, which is all you really need, apparently.
All the power.
I'm thinking we're talking about cartoons. Let's segue in. That's my segue. Let's segue in to
Nice
Disney,
segue.
to Disney villains.
Disney.
Talking about
Oh,
cartoons.
that makes sense. Disney cartoons.
We got Disney. We're gonna start with Robbie this time.
I got a holy trinity when it comes to Disney villains: Maleficent, Jafar, and Scar. And I'm just gonna say real quick, Scar, in particular, Jeremy Irons, downright Shakespearean. Like, that is Hamlet, the Lion King, and what a perfect voice to put with that character. I think Scar, Jafar, and Maleficent are just the three best. There's a lot, though. There's a lot of great
That was
Disney
Maleficent
villains.
from
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
which one. Okay.
And Jafar from Aladdin, obviously.
Yeah,
So
remember Jafar.
badass that the sequel to that movie is The Return of Jafar. And I got so excited when that movie came. Jafar is pimp,
was
man.
the movie terrible though?
No, it's good.
It's actually
Yeah, the
pretty
second
good
one was
considering.
actually good.
Was it like a straight to DVD
It's
kind
the
of thing?
best
It was.
direct-to-DVD sequel of a Disney animated film.
That's very
Very specific.
scope. Tad, do you have a favorite Disney villain?
I do. It was a close tie between Captain James Bartholomew Hook and
I did not know his middle name.
I didn't either until recently. And Hades, but Hades takes the cake. Hades just straight up god of the underworld. James Woods voiced, just amazing. And you could, like, the anger you got to see, he caused just awful things to happen in that movie. But
He
then
looks cool, too.
he does. He's just great.
Their portrayal of him, the
Yeah.
way he looks visually is
You know,
awesome.
normally blue flames on hair, gets really angry, just zooms in on his face, anger, red flames. And the best part was all the corny jokes. There were so many corny jokes coming straight from him.
All right, Brooks, you're a Disney fan. You have a favorite Disney villain?
Oh, Jafar, man. Jafar was awesome. Like, I remember watching Aladdin. It was like just this sleazy, no good guy that just happens to work for the most powerful man in the land. And, he has a plan. He knows what he wants. But, when he gets what he wants, it's kind of like, it comes with the price, which is, being trapped in a lamp for however long it takes to.
It was like 2 years till the Return of Jafar came out, I think.
Eventually he was
whopping
going to
2
get back
years.
out, but he is still the genie. So
And he was
has
the
an
villain in the
obligation.
series, the Aladdin series.
Yeah, he was.
And I'm glad we've talked about Jafar without mentioning that annoying ass parrot.
Iago.
Iago.
Iago, oh my god.
Yeah.
Named after a character from Othello, oddly enough.
Alicia, preferred Disney villain.
I really like Chernabog from Fantasia.
I don't remember who that is.
Oh man, do you remember the sequence? It's Night on Bald Mountain is what it's called. And there's this giant demon up on a hilltop.
It's like
and
the
he
end of
like
the film, I think. Yeah.
raises
very
all of the goblins and ghouls and skeletons, and they go out and they dance in the night and they wreak havoc and they burn fires, and then it ends as daylight comes and they're extinguished back into the ground until the sun sets again.
If
It's
you hear
haunting.
the
dude.
song, that is the best song for a villain ever. Like, it is amazing.
It's
You would
seriously the
know
best segment in Fantasia.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
better than Mickey and the Broomsticks.
Yeah.
I'm not even lying.
it. Yes.
I'm going to go with, since nobody asked me, you guys can all screw yourself. I'm going to go with a tie between Shere Khan and Don Carnage, both from Tailspin. Now, I know Shere Khan's from Jungle Book because they brought all those people. They imported those people.
Yeah, they did.
Baby to Save animation. Like, we already have these cool characters.
Just spin it.
So,
Spin it again.
because I absolutely love that Disney era of shows, which is Tailspin and
DuckTales.
DuckTales
Chip and Dale.
and
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck. All phenomenal, but Tailspin was probably my favorite. A close second would be Darkwing, of course. Again, we're gonna get sued by Disney, which brings us to TV villains. I'm actually gonna start with Tad, since he's a dick. Tad, TV villain, live action, not cartoon this time.
Fair enough. I don't actually get to watch a whole lot of TV, but I've followed the Supernatural series religiously. And I have to say, Lucifer, oh my goodness, just a fantastic villain throughout that. Like, once you find out that angels exist, and that's kind of cool, then you actually get into them talking about rising Lucifer from his prison, and every show that has Lucifer in it, you're like, oh, shit's about to get real.
You say from his prism? P-R-I-S... No.
prison. Prison.
This
Prison.
show, people learn how to spell. Listen to this on the way to work. You'll learn how to spell basic words that you should know how to fucking spell. Like prison. Brooks, TV
Yeah.
villain.
Oh, I like the Master from Doctor Who, because well, I really liked that story arc that he was in, and with David Tennant, the first one when he
Yeah.
first shows up, and then like when he comes back and finds him again, the Master just like really fucked the Doctor up. I mean.
He won.
It's like the Doctor has always, whatever he's doing, whatever danger he's in, he's always acting like, he's not that worried about it. But he was pretty worried when the Master hit.
James Lineback, who's usually on the show, who's going to be on tonight, that's his favorite too, is the Master. He wanted us to bring it up and mention it. But we're not going to. Fuck you, James, for not being here. Robbie.
Yes, John.
And seriously, James was sick, though. So we feel bad for you, James. Hope you feel better. If you're hearing this episode by the time it airs, you probably do feel better.
I hope he feels better by the time he listens
If
to
not,
it.
by now, you may want to go see a doctor.
Rest in peace, buddy.
TV, right?
TV
villains.
villain.
Yes. Moriarty from the Sherlock BBC series.
I haven't actually watched that show. Is that the guy from Star Trek? No.
Benedict Cumberbatch is in
Yeah,
the
okay.
new Star Trek movie,
Okay.
yeah, as Khan. Spoiler alert, but they already, whatever. Andrew Scott is the guy that plays Moriarty in that show. His interpretation of that character delights me. He is so delightfully just evil just because he wants to be.
Delightful.
And he's so fucking smart, and everything is laid out perfectly. In fact, he can't be stopped, except for by the random act of throwing him down a waterfall,
Yeah.
right? Though I also got to say real quick, Lord Zed from Power Rangers. Lord Zed was the coolest Power Rangers villain. His skin was gone. He was just muscles. He had his brain, and he talked so much shit. He would ask someone a question, and in the middle of them answering the question, degrade them and scream at them for wasting his fucking time.
He was the coolest Power Ranger.
He
Yes,
is
he was.
definitely the coolest Power Ranger.
So
villain.
there you go.
Alicia?
Benjamin Linus from Lost.
Excellent choice.
He's like, I love him because he's like 17 and a half steps in front of everyone else at all times. And it's just, he's so cold and calculating, and he's a great bad guy that's also kind of a good guy
Yeah, he's
at
got
times.
a heart. He's got a heart. He has things he cares about.
Most villains do. That's why they're villains.
Yeah.
Sometimes they care too much.
Like
I guess.
Mr. Freeze.
The cool thing about Ben Linus too, especially for when you first meet him and you just really don't like him, he gets his ass beat like in every episode.
He's always getting
Like
beat
every
up.
person on that show had a turn just beating the crap out of Benjamin Linus, and it was delightful to watch. There's that word again.
I wish that Sunny Delight was a sponsor because we just tie that shit all together. Just
Delightful.
ride that paycheck all the way home. I'm going to go with somebody you guys didn't mention because I don't know how many Breaking Bad fans here are here on
Well,
the
I've
show.
never actually seen it.
Gus
Yeah, I
Fring,
haven't seen it either.
the bad guy Gus Fring. And one of the most popular shows that nobody here has seen this
Nobody
show.
has seen it.
Gus Fring.
We're terrible pop culture historians.
Breaking
John.
Bad, Gus Fring. Anybody listen to it that watch the show know what I'm talking about. Gus Fring. We're going to take a quick break real quick. I'm sticking with that. Don't edit that out. I mean quick. Quick. Enjoy this song, Take a Ride, by the Gentlemen Bastards. Welcome back to the Huntsville Attic. That was Take a Ride by the Gentlemen Bastards. They're actually making a new album. Go ahead and check them out online. They're an amazing band. Crunchy guitars. I think you'll enjoy them. I want to talk about our top 5. Obviously, you guys have something near and dear to you that you want to talk about. They're saying, oh, these are the ones that I can't even fit all of them in one category. So here's my top 5. And I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to go counterclockwise. If you guys could see, we're actually in a swimming pool at the moment. And we're all in the pool, but we're standing uniformly in the pool together. And I'm going to start with Brooks. Your top 5. Let's go with your number 5. Who's your number 5 favorite villain of all time? Not to put you on the spot, but of all fucking time, Brooks.
Number 5 would be Thanos.
Thanos.
Yeah.
The cheaper version of Darkseid. Got it. Moving on.
He's the
Taz.
better version of Darkseid. Because he's Marvel.
Thanos. I do like
Everything
Thanos. Thanos is a badass. I agree with you there. That's a good
Thanos
number
is
5.
amazing.
Tad, number 5.
Number 5, I'm going to go with Angron from the Warhammer universe. No one knows him, whatever. Total badass, leader of the World Eaters, blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. Carry on.
Robbie, number 5.
1928, Weird Tales magazine. H.P. Lovecraft debuts a story called The Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu, my number 5.
Cthulhu Fatagan.
What about Cthulhu, Alicia?
My number 5 is Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Basically, he's a psychiatrist and a vigilante cannibal.
That's great. What about you, John?
I'm going to go with number 5. It's somebody we talked about that we all love. The Shredder.
Shredder.
Which version of the Shredder?
I'm going to go with Super Shredder from Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, I love Super Shredder.
If I have
awesome.
to pick, if you're going to put me on the spot, Super Shredder, I remember looking for that action figure as a kid, and like Super Shredder was...
That was hard to find.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Toka and Razor
Yeah.
you could find, but you could not find Super Shredder.
I remember
Super
going to the
Shredder.
store, and this kid took the last one off the shelf. And I followed him around because he was with his mom, and I'm like, hopefully his mom won't let him get it, and he'll put it back, and I can grab it. And, of course, that asshole bought it.
What
And I
an
didn't see
ass.
Super Shredder for years. By the time I saw him again, I lost interest. He's badass.
Yeah, I know.
Super Shredder. Number 4, Brooks.
That would be the Lich from Adventure Time. He's nasty. Like you'd have to see the show. You know what I mean?
I've heard the show was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
And
really
I
good.
want to check it out. It's
really
adults,
good.
kids,
It's
everybody
really-
would enjoy
It's
it.
really entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, it's light, but it's kind of heavy at times too. You know.
Tad, number 4.
Number 4, Black Adam. Villain.
Oh,
Very nice.
To Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, Shazam.
Shazam!
Oh my goodness. That man can take on Superman and win.
And you know who's been fighting to be Black Adam for the longest time?
The Rock. Yeah.
The Rock wants to be him in
make
a
a really
made for
good
and when they
Black
do a
He'd be
film.
great
he's
as
been
Black
pushing
Adam.
He
for
would.
it.
Perfect, actually. Now that I
Perfect.
He
think
wants
about
to
it.
be it. He's been pushing for it, and he would fit him quite well, I think.
If you are a DC fan, you will look up the book World War III and you will understand how much of a badass this man is and what lengths he will go to get revenge.
I'm going to agree with that. Robbie, number 4.
Tad's not seen this movie. Just calm down. No spoilers here. Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects.
I wanted to bring him up earlier when we were talking about
Yeah.
somebody.
Like,
we
there-
won't bring up anybody.
There's a statute of limitations for spoilers,
Yeah.
and Tad, you're well beyond that. But I respect you as a friend.
His best film.
I don't want to ruin that
Brian
movie
Singer,
by
that
going
is.
any further. But
Yeah.
the villain in that movie is my absolute favorite villain.
You know what? I'll
well,
tell you
not
what.
your absolute favorite. Your number 5.
My number 4.
I'll watch
4.
that here the next couple of days and I'll let you know.
Alicia, number 4.
The Wicked Witch of the West.
That's a good one. Those monkeys.
Oh, man. She's a really good example of a villain that's taken out for a really bullshit reason, though. I mean, like, she's super powerful, but scattered showers are going to take her out of the picture.
I think
like,
M. Night Shyamalan wrote that part of it.
I remember being scared of her as a kid and just hating her as a child. I mean, it
Oh, I
sticks
loved
with you.
her as a child. I seriously dressed up as the Wicked Witch of the West like 4 times when I was a little kid.
I'm going to go with number 4. Somebody that is a villain, that somebody you probably hated when you saw him and you guys probably forgot about at this point in time. Biff Tannen. How can you not hate Biff Tannen?
Right?
He's such a jerk, and he's a jerk in all those films. All
And he
variations.
gets covered in shit.
Yeah, every time in manure, he runs into manure. I hate Biff Tannen. That was probably one of the first characters as a child. Instead of being scared of by a monster, that it was a regular person, and I just despised him. He was a bully. He was an asshole, and you hate him.
You can't like him.
That makes me think, honorable mention of Bill Paxton's character from Weird Science and the principal from Breakfast Club.
Hell yeah.
Number 3, Brooks.
That'd be Han from the movie Enter the Dragon. I don't know if anybody here's seen Enter the Dragon.
That's actually a really good villain.
I mean, he's just like ridiculous, and he's kind of like a smooth, oily guy. I mean,
Is that the guy played by John Saxon?
No, they're
talking
that's
about
Roper.
the main villain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the villain. His name was Han.
With
He owned an island. He'd stolen some kind of like.
He was the master of an
secrets or
art
something.
that he had betrayed the whole ideals behind.
He was a bad guy.
Number 3, Tad.
I'm gonna have to go with Emperor Palpatine on this one. You always had Darth Vader, just the ominous bad guy. You learn that he's Luke's father, but then you find out that Darth Vader has a master that he answers to. You have this menacing Sith Lord that rules over Darth Vader and all of the Empire just by himself.
And you don't fully see him for 3 movies.
And it's not until halfway through the 3rd movie you finally get that full parade. All the Death Star is standing there watching as the Emperor walks by, this old crippled man. And then at the very end of the movie, you see his power. You see what he can actually do. And you're just like, this guy is incredible. And if you read anything of the extended universe, you realize this man is the ultimate villain.
His weakness, though, being thrown into pits.
Being
And
thrown
water.
in the pits, man.
And water.
He's a wicked witch.
The Emperor's a great villain. My favorite villain in all of Star Wars. Period.
Speaking of your favorite villain of Star Wars, period. Robbie, your number 3. Is it also Palpatine?
Probably not.
My number 3 is another crusty old white dude.
Tad.
Lex Luthor.
Oh, Lex.
Created by Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster in 1940. Who cares, right? Action Comics 23, if you want to know. Go buy it, right? He was originally a mad scientist in 86.
Yeah, I heard it's a cheap issue.
Yeah, very cheap. It's not a very well-known character.
Found it in the dollar bin.
He was originally just a crazy mad scientist in 86. John Byrne relaunched Man of Steel and Superman, all that stuff. And he was a corporate business mogul now. And he's untouchable. And I love Luthor, man. Superman comes along. All of a sudden, everybody loves Superman because he can fly and he's in shape and he's got all this stuff. Lex Luthor spends all of
Damn your pecs, Superman.
Lex Luthor spent the rest of his time emulating Superman. He starts off and he's chunky, he's fat, he's slow, right? He's smart, but he's big. He gets in shape. He builds himself a suit so he can be invulnerable and have strength and fly, even. He makes himself a league, an Injustice League. Luthor wants to be Superman. He's jealous of the fact that Superman is now the idol of the people and no longer himself.
Alicia, your number, what are we on? 3?
My number 3 is Angelus from Buffy, the Vampire Slayer.
Hell yeah, Buffy reference.
Yeah, Angelus is really awesome.
He's like the worst thing that can happen, pretty much.
He's really, really like the most horrible and cruel vampire, right? But I think it's really cool, like the story of how we meet Angelus for the first time being that Buffy and Angel fall in love and they have their first night together and he turns into a soulless beast. And I think that's a really good analogy for something that a lot of teenagers experience.
All teenage girls' first time having sex, probably.
Like-
A soulless beast.
Yeah. Who then slaughters your family.
Appropriate.
Talk about soulless
A great
beasts
villain.
that,
Great villain.
slaughter your family. My number 3 is Freddy Krueger. In the same...
Freddy.
watch the movies. Have you guys not seen the movies? You can get the Blu-ray box set for like $35.
I love Freddy Krueger.
$35.
He's really good. I'm not lying. I mean, Freddy Krueger's awesome. Robert Englund's performance. He becomes kind of very cliche and jokey towards the end, but that's just what
He
happens.
becomes, but then they quickly pull it back.
Wait, didn't
Wes
he
Craven comes back and just takes that shit back.
didn't he get fingered in one movie?
Just cut
That's
everything
a Tom
out.
Green movie. And it
Yeah,
just cut
that
out
was a bad
everything-
movie.
Nice, man.
Everything
I thought it
that
was being
Tad's
funny.
ever done.
I'm gone.
Number 2, Brooks.
My number 2 would be Sephiroth. He's a villain from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
For the opposite
Fuck
reasons, I like Sephiroth for the opposite reasons. I like Zeramus. Like, he's a better villain. He's got more of a story behind him. It's like you kind of feel for him in a way, but he's a lot easier than Zeramus was, in my opinion.
He's fully.
It was easier to
fleshed out
defeat.
Villain.
Yeah, he's very deep. I mean, there's a lot to him. There's
If you
a lot
know
more
it-
to him story-wise.
If you know anything about Final Fantasy VII, I beat him when I was level 37, which is a really low level. It wasn't hard to beat that boss.
And I always grinded too much before I fought him, so beating him was like so easy.
He's just kind of like the visage of like terror, though. Like, I mean, he just really
Yeah.
like when he's
It's like
standing
he's a
there in
murderer.
front
Like
of the
that
flames.
first time when you're trapped in the Shinra building, you come out and there's blood all over the walls and stuff. I mean, he was pretty gruesome.
He took care of business. He got shit done.
Speaking of grinding, Tad, you're number 2.
I do like grinding. But my number 2 would have to be Sauron from The Lord of the Rings. And Sauron, you never really see the guy. You only see the eye. The eye. And now they're releasing the Hobbit movies, and you get to see this sort of figure, this shadowy figure. And in the first Lord of the Rings movie, you get to see the armored figure of him. But what you don't know is that if you read the Silmarillion, which is technically, it's the Bible of the Lord of the Rings. And there's a lot of details left out, but when you actually look at Sauron was a beautiful figure. He could change his shape. He corrupted people. He was evil to the core. He took that figure in the movies because he had to, because his figure was destroyed. That man is the most evil person that you can think of in a fantasy setting.
So he's the most evil person, and yet you're number 2.
Plus, he
My
was a
number 2.
dinosaur in the
Yes.
Savage Land.
Yes. Yes.
Robbie, you're number 2.
My number 2 will be Dracula. Dracula is just, well, Bram Stoker created him in 1897. Obviously, we know that. He transcends generation and media. Like, he goes beyond that. Like, Dracula is a badass villain no matter what the setting, no matter what the age, no matter anything. Dracula can be adapted. And absolutely love it. He's got hypnotic powers. He can turn into mist and a wolf and a bat. He lives forever. Talking about we like villains because they're cool. Who's fucking cooler than Dracula, man? I'm
Okay,
just
apparently
saying.
somebody, because again, this guy is your number 2.
Even looking into history, you have Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, right?
That guy was such a badass. Just threw people on the pikes.
And under the bus, believe it or not.
Under
It's
the
a rumor,
bus.
but he actually
I
did
heard that Dracula was actually based on the Count from Sesame Street.
You guessed right.
And number 2 for you, Alicia. Number 2.
Avada Kedavra, totally Voldemort. Is my
You
number
can't
2.
say that name.
Who?
Yeah, he
Is
who
this
must
Harry
not
Potter?
be
He
named.
knows where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, Voldemort is freaking badass, dude. Like, oh my goodness. He kills people with a flick of his wrist. Like, it's just
So
nothing.
is Darth Vader, just for the record.
He kills the protagonist.
He does it with way less effort than Vader does. Vader is a henchman.
Vader
Voldemort
is,
is
a
no
henchman.
Voldemort has a pet snake that he commands to kill people, dude.
Voldemort is like one of those villains that was actually a bad egg to begin with. Like, you look back at his childhood, he was still
Dude,
twisted.
Yes,
he was twisted
messing
before
with
he
people
became a
then.
wizard.
Yes.
He's that kid that cuts up cats
Yeah.
to see what they're made of.
Now I feel bad for bringing my number 2, which is Darth Vader. You're like, Darth Vader was just a henchman.
Just a
Darth
henchman.
Vader was just a
Oh,
little
he was
bitch.
a
He
bad.
doesn't
He
even
was a
count.
badass henchman.
So my number 2 is Darth Vader. A lot of it was when I saw the films as a child. It was he was just so cool. He was just such a badass, and I think a lot of it was the influence of the age I saw him. So maybe he's not as cool as he appeared to be. But again, Vader's still pretty badass. Even you go to I guess they do like the Star Wars festivals and stuff, and there's a lot of stormtroopers, but you know who else loves? A lot of people love Vader. So there's also a lot of Vaders. It's
Yeah,
disproportionate. There's a lot of Darth Vaders.
No one dresses up as the Emperor. They dress up as Darth Vader.
Darth Vader's got a cooler costume, and there's less makeup work.
He's
because you're just wearing
iconic.
the
And he's
fucking
got the
mask.
voice and the badass lines. He can
James
choke people at
Earl
will.
I find your lack of
Jones.
faith disturbing.
Yes.
All right, that was our number 2s. And now to the number 1, which you've all been waiting for. If you haven't tuned out yet, and we appreciate you and we love you. Number 1s, Brooks, you're number 1. We'll run down the list so far. Brooks has number 5 is Thanos. Number 4 is Lich. Was that who was? Who was your number 4? Was Lich.
It's pronounced Lich.
Number 3 was it Han?
Han, yeah.
Han. Number 2 was Sephiroth
Yeah.
from Final Fantasy 7.
7, yeah.
And your number 1 would be. We
What?
need a drum roll. Somebody edit in a drum roll. Okay, fuck that. We
Well,
already
my
have a
number
drum roll.
1 was...
We just bang on the table.
You assholes.
We spare no expense here on the show.
You guys ruined everything I try to do. I'm going to go and run in this closet and cry for a minute.
Brooks has been drinking wine.
Boo-hoo-hoo. Okay, what were we talking about?
Your number 1, the one you've been holding out.
It was my number 1 is actually Taz's number 2. Sauron is my favorite villain. In Tolkien's universe, there's Eru, which is the one true god. There's the Valar, which are the gods. Then beneath that, it's the angels types, which I forget what they're called, and then the elves.
The Maiar.
So he was in that spot between god and elf. He was like
Gelf.
an angel that
MILF.
turned to the dark.
A Gaiar.
He turned to the dark god, and he decided that he was gonna help him fuck up the world, basically.
And it's interesting too. We didn't mention his master because his master may have been evil, but Sauron surpasses him.
Yeah,
in all aspects.
Melkor was very chaotic. Sauron's more calculating. Melkor was the dark god that trained Sauron, and he was eventually imprisoned by the other guys. But Sauron was kind of his follower, and he carried on his legacy after he was gone.
And
his
in
own
a
way.
much better fashion.
Tad, your number 1. Your number 5 was Angron.
Angron, yes.
Your number 4 was Black Adam.
Yes.
Can't argue with you there. I love me some Shazam. Number 3 was Palpatine. Number 2 was Sauron. Sauron.
Anatar.
And your number 1.
My number 1 is from the Magic the Gathering universe. His name is Yawgmoth. He is the creator of...
I hope he's a giant moth.
He's not. He is the creator of the Phyrexian race. Anything about Magic the Gathering, Yawgmoth, above and beyond. Like, there's some newer villains that they're trying to introduce, like Nicole Bolas. He's always been kind of there, and now he's becoming this power, and then you've got the Eldrazi sort of showing up. Yawgmoth takes the cake. You cannot beat Yawgmoth on evil.
He created all the Praetors?
He created everything. He is the father of machines.
Wow.
Speaking of father machines, Robbie, I want to know your number 1, but let's run down the last 4 you
Oh,
had.
please
Number
do.
5 was Cthulhu. Number 4 was Kaiser Sose. Number 2 was Lex Luthor. Number 3. Numbers are hard. That was number 3. Number 2 was Dracula.
Okay, yeah. I remember that now.
Numbers. I can't count backwards. And your number 1, Robbie. Your number 1.
I can't count backwards. Dr. Doom.
Oh, gasp.
Victor
What you say?
Von Doom. Imagine
Who is
yourself in 1962 and you're reading Fantastic Four number 5. Dr. Doom debuted that issue, and that is the most awesome issue in comic book, period, ever, everything. He was created by Jack Kirby with
Great
Stan
Jack
Lee.
Never heard of him.
He was Dr. Doom mastered the demons of science and sorcery. He was the arch enemy to the Fantastic Four. We all know Dr. Doom. He's horribly disfigured, possibly by his own hand and his own vanity. Jack Kirby basically said he modeled him after Death, the hooded Death. He gave him the armor because he said flesh equals feelings and life and spirit, and I wanted you to think of coldness and skeletons and just nothing.
Flesh is
There was
weak.
nothing there. Kirby actually said that Doom is, quote, paranoid, wrecked by his twisted face. Dr. Doom is an evil person, but he's not always been evil. You see, he's a perfectionist. He's arrogant and he's prideful. And that is the downfall of Doom. And there's a piece of me inside of Doom. And there's a piece of Doom that's a warning to me. And I love Dr. Doom. I think he's the greatest villain across all things. He starts off as a Fantastic Four villain. And he is the Fantastic Four
He's actually
villain.
a Marvel Universe
But he's a
villain
Marvel
now.
villain now.
Yeah.
Like Thanos. I mean,
He's
Dr.
like
Doom.
he's like Apocalypse and Thanos and the guys that when they do something everybody has to take notice.
Dr. fucking Doom. And he rarely loses.
Yeah, he
gets set back. He gets postponed. But he's rarely defeated.
Alicia, let's get to you. We'll count down the last 4 you had. Number 5, Hannibal Lecter. Number 4, The Wicked Witch. Number 3, Angelus. Is that how you say her name?
Angelus.
Number 2, Teddy Ruxpin. Okay, number 2 might have been Voldemort. It was one of the two. It was either that or Teddy Ruxpin. I didn't write all this shit down. You're number 1. You're number 1. We're eager to hear.
The best villain of all time is definitely Maleficent. And it's just, she can turn into a dragon. Boom, I win.
She turns into a fucking dragon.
I mean, I would turn into a dragon if I could turn into a dragon. Like, I mean, that's like 100 style points. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That is true.
the end.
She's got a new movie coming out.
I cannot wait.
Is that the one with Angelina Jolie?
It is the
Angelina
one.
Jolie.
She's so, like, the reason that I really, really like her is that the whole reason that she's the bad guy is because she felt like it. Like, they didn't invite her to a baby shower. And so she's just like, well, you didn't invite me?
scorn.
Then you're going to die. Like, it's just escalation of a whole nother level. And she also is like, the other fairies bless Aurora. And they're like, oh, you're going to be beautiful. And you're going to be so sweet and so loved. And she's like, oh, you're right. You are. And then you're going to die. And I think that's just the best, most diabolical plan that there could be.
And she can turn into a dragon.
And she can
I didn't know she turned into a dragon. She would be on my list if I knew
Maleficent has to have respect. I mean, she can't have these people disrespecting her like that.
And I love how she
She's
treats
like
her
Tupac.
minions.
Yeah.
Street cred.
She's a thug.
And to top it off, she was in Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite
Yeah, that
games
was
of
awesome.
all time.
Kingdom Hearts 2 was even better, though.
All right.
Well, what about you, John?
I feel justified by you.
Yeah,
number
John,
1.
what's your top favorite number 1
My number 1 is actually a tie. That's right. I pulled that bullshit.
Oh, my God.
I picked more than number
Oh,
1.
you picking 2? Nah,
I'm picking
nah.
2 because
You're
1...
going to have to throw one out.
One
bro.
of those is somebody that you guys won't agree with because you guys aren't a big fan of. But the other number 1 you will agree with. My number 1 is a tie.
I need to remember. I don't remember what your 5 through 2 are right now.
Oh yeah.
If you can do it without skipping 3.
Okay. My 5. My number 5 was Shredder, of course. The Shredder.
The Shredder.
Aruku Saki.
My number 4 was Biff Tannen. My number 3 was Freddy Krueger, of course. Number 2 was Vader. How can you not? Everybody loves Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
A model of Dr. Doom.
Oh, screw off.
My number 1 is a tie between the Master Control Program from Tron. I love the fact that he's got that spinning shield, but there's just that little gap to throw the fucking...
Man,
why would you leave that? The freaking Death Star syndrome where you left just enough.
He's in one movie, and that's your top? That's impressive.
My favorite sci-fi film of all time is Tron. If you would have noticed if you listened to the episode.
I don't like you.
Suck a bag of dicks. But it's tied with something that... It's tied with somebody that you guys will probably agree with me is a great villain, is an underrated villain, and somebody you guys all love, and you forgot he was such a great villain, and that is Hale from Space Odyssey, 2001.
How?
Hale.
How?
How 9,000?
Hale.
9,000.
Hale. However you want to say it. Hale.
Hail. I thought you were talking about my air conditioning unit.
Stop it. You're hurting me.
Can't let you do that.
Dave,
Please.
stop.
I can't let you do that, Dave.
He's such a bad guy, but he's so just nonchalant about it. Because I guess that's how he's programmed to talk.
Well, maybe it's because he's a computer.
Give me
Well, you know what? You're a computer.
That's not the first time I've heard that.
Burn.
Days.
He's a great bad guy, and he really makes that film such a great film.
I think we need to sit down, take a pill, and think about the situation.
We appreciate you tuning in. Remember, tune in next time, same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be talking about kaiju. Should be a good episode, especially for the kaiju fans. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google kaiju.
How do you spell it?
I believe it's K ampersand bat signal J-U. So, and remember, kids, the only thing keeping you from being a supervillain is yourself. Don't let yourself hold yourself back. You can be a supervillain if you really want to. If you want to put your mind to it, you can be a supervillain. Good night.